There's no doubt that every single component of a kart plays a role in terms of aerodynamics, from the front bumper and the front panel, through the side pods and chassis, all the way to the driver, whose position, as we have already discussed, can have a hefty impact on the performance. But what about the rear bumper? To be honest, in my previous analysis I almost ignored it. It was there, of course, but rarely in the focus. In this video that will change. This time, the rear bumper is not just a background detail, and we won't just discuss the standard plastic version, we'll also compare it with the old metal design, as despite its vintage look, the metal rear bumper is still popular in the karting industry. Lastly, we'll test a diffuser on the kart, something totally unseen. But the question appears, which one is more practical and more aerodynamic? For this test, we're using our standard 1.86 meter driver model together with the latest parallel Aero package. Before we dive into the pure aerodynamics, let's first talk about the practical differences between the plastic and metal rear bumpers, because airflow isn't the only factor. One of the main downsides of a metal bumper are regulations. In many national championships, plastic full-wide bumpers are mandatory, and metal ones are not legal everywhere. So depending on your series, the choice might already be limited. Moreover, many drivers report differences in contact behavior. In close racing, where small bumper-to-bumper contacts are common, plastic bumpers tend to absorb and distribute energy more progressively. On the other hand, a metal bumper transmits force more directly into the frame. This can feel harsher and, in some situations, may even destabilize the kart. But what does aerodynamics tell us? Looking at the overall flow of the kart, everything initially appears familiar. At the front, nothing has changed. We observe the typical low pressure region under the front bumper. The front panel behaves exactly as in our previous parallel analysis. Two low pressure zones and higher pressure at the main inlet. In other words, no major changes in the front between those two rear bumpers. But just behind the kart, we immediately notice a large wake region forming. That's expected. The driver and chassis disturb a significant amount of air. However, in the plastic bumper configuration, we clearly see a deep blue wake zone forming right behind it. Blue, in this case, indicates low velocity, the slowest, most disturbed airflow. Out of the entire wake behind the kart, this region is one of the most affected one. This tells us one thing: the rear bumper is sitting already in decelerated low energy airflow and disturbing it even further. Now, when we take a look at the metal version, the picture changes slightly. The wake is still present, but is slightly less disturbed directly behind the bumper. The difference becomes even clearer when we look at our case from above. In the plastic case, the bumper acts almost like a solid barrier. The airflow hits it, slows down further and expands into a huge wake region. In contrast, the metal bumper, thanks to its open design, allows portions of the airflow to pass through the gaps. The flow is not stopped as aggressively, and this leads to less significant wake behind. Now let's look at something new on this channel, the total pressure coefficient plot. This plot highlights high and low energy zones and helps us understand which components consume the most flow energy. Interestingly, in the metal version we can observe small pockets of slightly higher energy flow passing through the structure. The open design allows some of the air to continue downstream without being completely blocked. This suggests that the gaps in the metal bumper help preserve a little portion of the energy. Now, here's the part that might surprise you. When we compare the drag coefficients, the difference between the plastic and metal rear bumper is almost invisible. After seeing such a clear visual difference in the wake, this might feel confusing. We clearly saw that the metal bumper allows airflow to pass more freely, so it should be more aerodynamic, right? Let me explain. Both bumpers operate in extremely low energy airflow. The air reaching the rear of the kart has already been heavily disturbed by the driver and chassis. In other words, the bumper is working in poor aerodynamic conditions from the start. The airflow is already so decelerated that even a better design can only recover a limited amount of the performance. Moreover, both rear bumpers designs share one fundamental weakness. They are horizontal. They do not accelerate and guide the airflow upward. For example, in the automotive aerodynamics, one of the most effective ways to manage rear wake is by accelerating the airflow upward using a diffuser. By expanding and directing the flow, diffuser helps reduce the wake behind the car. That is why in the automotive industry, using aggressive rear diffuser is really common. So if diffusers are so effective in cars, what about karting? Could we add one? It sounds unrealistic, but for our Aero test, let's try this out and see what impact does it make. Before that, a quick reminder that if you would like to simulate your own vehicle, then head to osrlab.com. There you can submit a special request for a fully custom Aero simulation. Link is in the description. From the side view, we can clearly observe that even our very simple diffuser concept is already working. As the airflow passes underneath and reaches the expanding section, it accelerates and is then redirected upward. This upward expansion helps energize the flow and decrease wake. If we switch to the top view, we can notice something very interesting. The wake region behind the kart becomes visibly cleaner and less chaotic. The flow is slightly less disturbed and this directly influences overall drag behavior. The numerical results confirm what we see visually. With the diffuser installed, the drag coefficient dropped to 0.56, while the lift coefficient improved to -0.17. This is a significant change. It clearly shows that the diffuser did not just reduce drag, it also generated additional downforce. And keep in mind, this is an extremely simplified diffuser design. It only features a basic height expansion. There are no strakes or vanes to control pressure distribution. Moreover, there are no optimized curvature profiles, which further enhance diffuser performance. This simple test on a karting explained to us why in modern automotive world diffusers are so popular. They are carefully shaped, tested and refined to maximize the final result. That is exactly why so much engineering effort is invested into their development. As even this simple test already demonstrates how powerful the rear section of a vehicle can be when we are allowed to make drastic changes. To sum up, one of the biggest aerodynamic challenges in karting is the massive wake region left behind the kart and driver. One effective way to reduce that wake is by accelerating the underbody airflow and guiding it upward in a controlled manner, exactly what diffuser does. But this test gives us a very clear idea of how much potential lies in the rear of the vehicle and how dramatically performance could change if that area was fully developed. As always, let me know in the comments what should I test next time. Thanks for watching and see you in next Aero analysis.